Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you didn't know, my name is Eman, or Dancing in Circles, and I make pole, aerial hoop, and lollipop lyra tutorials on this channel. Today I'll be filming from my new studio space here in Toronto, so I'm really excited to be getting back on the YouTube bandwagon. I was in the midst of a move for the last month or so, so I've been kind of gone. I kind of disappeared, but I'm back and ready to rock. So today we'll be working on a little pole tutorial. I want to do our shoulder mount Bible. That's what I'm going to call this. So we're going to start all the way down from the ground and we're going to take it up in the air. So I'm going to give you every step to get you your shoulder mount today. If you find this video useful, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It really does help me out with growing this channel. You can also find me on other social media platforms. I will list them off to the side over here. Give me a follow if you ever have any requests. Shout me out or questions. I'm super responsive on there, so send me a message. And without further ado, let's get into it. So we're going to begin working on our shoulder mounts from the floor, so from the base of our pole. So from here, rule is if I get the right side of my neck onto the pole, my right hand is going to cup grip first, and then my left hand will be stacked directly on top. If I'm on my left side, my left hand is going to grab first, and then my right hand will be stacked on top. So that's the rule with your hands. From here, I'm actually going to lay all the way down onto the floor. From here, I'll get the pole, the base of the pole, onto my trap. Right hand is going to grab first, then left hand on top because I'm on my right side. From here, what I want to do, we're going to go into our hollow body or our banana position. So from here, I'm going to make sure that there is no gap between my low back and the floor. So I'm going to press my belly button down, tuck my pelvis under, get my low back onto the floor, and that means that my feet are going to hover slightly up above the ground. So this is your starting position for this exercise. From here, I'm going to pull my elbows in towards each other. We're going to straddle. From here, I'm going to pull and then bring my toes up overhead. I'm going to try to hit the ground above me. Now from here, we're going to slowly lower, pulling into the arms. This should be a very controlled movement. From here, as soon as my low back hits the ground, I'm going to close back into my starting position. And then we're going to repeat. So we'll go straddle, pull, toes up overhead, and then slow, lower, out, feet back together. And then you'll do 15 on each side. This will also condition the shoulder to be in contact with the pole. It may feel a little bit uncomfortable as you first start to work on this. So that will condition those. Also the pulling action into the arms, so elbows in, don't let them flare out, and it will also condition the core to start to shoulder mount and use this as a mounted entry. So whenever you feel like you're ready, we can take this next step a little bit more elevated. So we're going to turn it into an invert. So I like to teach shoulder mounts from the floor. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sit up, so a little bit higher than we were in that last exercise, maybe about like 1.5 to 2 hand widths away from the base of the pole. From here, I'm going to get my trap on, my shoulder on. I'm going to go right hand and then left hand on top if I'm on the right side. If I'm on the left side, left hand, then right hand on top. So same rule applies. From here, what I'm going to do, this is how I like to set up. I'm going to start with one leg bent and one leg straight. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push off into the bent leg. So the bent leg is going to push off into the floor. The straight leg is going to needle up. So it's going to kick up. I'm going to lead with that straight leg. It's going to go first, and then I'm going to push into the ground with the bent leg. So we're going to be here. We're going to be pulling. This is a nice little exercise. Just get those hops. and see if you can catch a second of air time. So from here, I'm gonna push and lead with that leg. So push, and then I want that straight leg to straddle out wide to the same side of the pole. So that's my right leg, it's gonna go out to the right side of the pole, right? So if I keep it narrow and I keep it too close to the pole, obviously I can hit it, but it's also way harder to hold a pencil position than it is to hold a straddle. So remember to straddle wide. Keep that knee intentionally bent in towards the chest. So from here, I'm gonna hop, see if I can catch a second where I feel like I'm kind of floating. Now from here, we're gonna go push, and if I get my butt high enough, I may be able to hold this position. From here, slowly lower out. So a little alternative to that hopping method, if that's not really resonating with you, what I like to do is stack about 3 yoga blocks. And then from here, we're going to use that same exercise that we did from the floor, the first one, but we're gonna do it elevated, so we're gonna do it from the blocks. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lean all the way down. I like to set the blocks up fairly far away, so about 2.5 hand widths away from the base of the pole. From here, what I'm going to do, straight legs, hollow body. Now from here, we're going to pull the arms in towards each other, straddle. We're gonna come up, and now from here you may feel like you can lift your butt up off the blocks. Slowly lower out, back onto the blocks, and legs back together. So that's an alternative to the hopping method, or if you find that you're hopping from the floor, that's too easy. This is a nice way to work that straight leg and work your legs a little bit straighter. So this is a really nice exercise to get you a more solid shoulder mount. So now we're going to take our shoulder mount into the air. So we're going to start from a standing, because ideally that's where we want to start in our routines and stuff like that. So we're now confident on the floor. It's a little bit less risky when we start from the ground, because we know that we'll maybe drop a couple inches to a foot and just land on our bum versus from a standing. So now we're confident in holding our shoulder mount, so we're going to bring it up to our stand. It's going to be about the same method. I'm going to give you a couple other tips and things to think about while we're doing this. So from here, I'm going to walk out. I'm going to get it on my shoulder, on my trap. We're going to cup grip, then grip on top. Now from here, I'm going to make sure my hips are pushing forward, so they're a little bit off the pole. I'm not going to bring it too tight here. And then from here, I'm going to pick a leg. So one leg is going to push off into the ground. That one's going to stay bent. The opposite leg is going to needle up first, and that's going to give me a little bit of momentum to push my hips up a little bit higher. So it's going to get our toes up right away. Remember to think like you're wearing ankle weights. I want your ankles to be parallel down to the ground, your feet to drop down a little bit behind your head versus having them stay up and high, because you don't want to be up in a pencil position, of course. We want to be in a solid straddle or a pancake. So from here, I'm going to push, needle up, straddle. Now from here, when you come down, keep your head neutral, or look at your crotch as you lower down, pull into those arms, and we'll descend out of it. So one thing that I see a lot with students is that when they come down and descend from their shoulder mount position, they lose the contact between the trap and the shoulder and the arms. So their arms begin to extend and they lose this contact and they drop because they're not pushing their shoulder into the pole enough that they lose this. So then it becomes a lot harder to descend with control if your arms are straight versus if they're bent and you can engage your biceps, right? So from here, keeping the head neutral or tucked, even when you're on the floor and you do V-snaps or something like that, looking, throwing your head back behind you, that would completely throw you off balance. So same thing here, I want you to keep your head neutral or tucked versus throwing your head all the way back, because that will likely cause you to lose this connection, right? Really focus on pulling the elbows in towards each other so that you can descend out with control instead of dumping out of your shoulder mount. All right, so we have a solid shoulder mount now. So we're gonna take this up in the air and we're gonna talk a little bit about aerial shoulder mounting. So I'm going to start you guys off with a little conditioning drill. This will also be a trick, so it's a really beautiful pole hold. So we're going to work on our shoulder mount holds before we start to work on our aerial shoulder mount. So from the floor, from the standing position, I'm gonna rise up onto a demi point. So I'm gonna rise up onto my toes. From here, we're going to set up in our shoulder mount and I'm going to thrust my hips forward, push my hips out and away from the pole. From here, I'm going to bring my elbows in towards each other, really pull, and then what I want to do is I want to lift up, open up my chest as much as possible so that my toes start to hover up off the ground. So from here, I'm going to open up the chest, really squeeze the elbows in towards each other, squeeze the shoulder blades together as if I'm squeezing a pencil in between my shoulder blades. From here, I'm going to open up my chest as much as possible, lift my toes up off the ground. From here, when you're training by yourself, do 15-second holds on each side, and this will prep you for your aerial shoulder mount. All right, so last but not least, in this video, we're going to take our shoulder mount up into the air. So we're going to do our aerial shoulder mount in this video, or we'll just talk about it. So I really like to start from my figurehead position, because from here, I can push the hooked knee into the floor, into the pole to give myself a little bit of momentum to bring myself up. So it makes it a little bit easier than if you were coming obviously from a hang. So from here, we're going to give it a little climb. And then we're going to push away into our figurehead position. Now from here, my outside arm is going to reach up. I'm going to sneak that hooked arm through. We're going to come into our cup grip. Now from here, same thing, bent leg, and then one leg straight. I'm gonna push off into the pole and shoulder mount. Now from here, head neutral, slow lower, and we can step out. And that is how I would get into my aerial shoulder mount position to start working it.